Good morning. This is Sheila, the PA doll lady, and it is about 4:50 a.m. my time. And as 2025 wraps up, I just started to think back to when I was thinking about leaving my full-time job and the feelings that I had at the moment when I was like, is this possible? Can I leave a full-time job that has been, my nest, my landing, my safety place? And what does that look like? I've never had a business before. I've never I never knew anybody in person that had a business. So I found my favorite cup, and this is my favorite cup right here. Because it just fits snugly into my hand. I thought to myself, you know, when I first started selling online, it was more of a like a hobby type of a thing, like a wait and see approach. I walked into it not really thinking, "Oh, this is gonna be my full-time job, and I'm gonna jump ship from a career that I had been at for 14 years." So, if you are sitting in that seat right now and you're thinking, "I'm done. I need to get out of here. Some way, somehow, I need to get out of this job. It is sucking my soul." I hear you. I hear you. Even if you are at those kind of jobs that, you know, you've been at for so long that you could do it with your eyes closed, but the better you are, the more job, the more job you get, or the more work you get. It's kind of those jobs where somebody retires and congratulations to the remaining team members. Here you go. So instead of replacing that person, you just get a 50-cent raise, and then you get the other person's workload. Um, I hear you, and I feel your pain, man. That was serious. And what keeps us there, like especially women, I think that we are just so afraid of believing that we can self-sustain outside of a regular 9 to 5. And then not only that, but my thought process at that point was like, I have been here for, almost 15 years, and I was still like low bottom. Like my small town, if you get a job like that, like you stay there. You stay there until you retire, and you don't break your seniority, because if you do, then like this is like funny and kind of tedious to think about now, but if you break your seniority, like you don't have options of like work at home, or you don't have options of like getting first dibs on vacation, and that kind of stuff. You just, like the stuff that, you're supposed to be working for, and that kind of thing. But um the scariness, so I think the psychology of the whole thing is this: like, you may not like the job you're at, you may not love the job you're at, but that's the devil that you know, and for that reason you decide, at least I know this. And someone was asking my coach yesterday, you know, a year down the line, this is going to happen and this is going to happen, and I'm just worried about. And his response was, how about if it doesn't happen? And I don't think that way. Like, when I was contemplating leaving this job, I was like, what about if I go out of business? What about if I don't have sales? What about if eBay or Poshmark or one of the platforms kicks me off? What about if I make too many mistakes and I and I crash and burn? Like, what I didn't think was, what about if you soar? What about if you take it way up there, way beyond whatever you thought was possible? I didn't think about that. I did not think about, what about if you make 3 times the income that you're making right now? I didn't think about stuff like that. I just thought about like this job. I have like 3 weeks vacation and I have insurance, and um, the job, I was, it did not align with me anymore. I did not align with it. The job is the job. I did not align with the job anymore. And it was like I had to force myself into counseling every single week because I was just like my soul was being crushed. And it wasn't, I don't blame the job itself. It's just like your body your body knows when it's time to go. And I think that like we try to force ourselves into stuff that is not for us, and we will suffer through it because we're too scared to let go. We're just like, we're so afraid of what about if I fail? And that fear factor is what ties so many of us to that 9 to 5. And here, the truth is that, like, once I left go, I've been with my counselor for a long time. Um, I I've said in previous videos, I was like striving so hard to like become a judge, and that was like my pinnacle to my career and all this and that. And I got there, and that wasn't working for me. And I knew it wasn't working for me. Like my body was telling me it wasn't working for me, and I just wanted to make it work. I was like, I strove for this. I fought for this. I have to stay here. And the truth is, I started to have panic attacks because it wasn't working. Like I had no support, no training, no anything. And it's like, here you are, congratulations. You've made it. Hope you know what you're doing. And I was just like, uh, this is the job I've been fighting for forever, and I don't know what I'm doing. And it was like zero help, right? Zero help. As a matter of fact, I would drive an hour and a half to get there. And nobody told you this in words, like those kind of jobs where nobody has to tell you the rules, but you kind of look around and these are the untold rules. Nobody took breaks, nobody took their lunches. And as a matter of fact, some people came in early and stayed late. So I was driving an hour and a half to get there. And somewhere along the line, I got the expectation that you don't take breaks and lunches here, like you work. And, anyways, crashed and burned there, came back to my old job and just watched paint dry for a long time. And even still, I was still like no clarity was coming through as to like what I could do next. I just knew that it was like the most devastating time. And I didn't know. I wasn't sure why the universe punished me, why I could not succeed at what I thought I wanted. And I think that I've said this before, but I think that we need to allow the universe to provide surprises for us. And we all like a good surprise, but nobody likes a bad surprise. Like nobody likes a blown engine, nobody likes a stuff like that. But I I believe that when we become adults, we tend to close the door to surprises. Like we decide at some point, this is what feels safe, and I'm just going to do that forever and nothing else. And that is where we start to struggle. That's where I started to struggle. I'm speaking for myself. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm not a risk taker. As a matter of fact, I'm much of a chicken when it comes to risk. I like to, even like investing and everything else, I don't do the whole, you know, jump from this stock and jump from that one and jump. I'm like, here's my $100, let the market figure it out type of ordeal. So, getting to the business and how to muster up the courage to jump ship. I had my counselor along with me the whole entire time. I would see her once a week, mainly because I was stressed out and watching paint dry at the job, and I was forcing myself into something that just wasn't for me. But I needed to pay my bills, and I needed to uh, feel safe. And if you want to feel safe, you do stuff that you don't necessarily like. That's just what it is. At least that's how I felt. I felt like, adulting is eating the biggest plate of crap and just dealing with it. And it doesn't have to be that way. It does not have to be that way. But time needs to follow through, and we need to walk through the gates at our time. We need to do that with a small group of people that will help you to not only see that little fragile idea that you have, but that will cultivate that little idea that you may have. Because I've always told my coach, I felt my reselling business has, for me, it felt like I was holding an egg, and I was just like keeping it under the heat lamp and just trying not to let it fall. And I was just, I never wanted to talk to people about it outside of like the first few people that knew what I was trying to do and this, that, and the other. Um, because when I started to believe that it was getting serious, I would tell my counselor, like, I don't know that I could leave this job that I don't like for this business that maybe might work or may not work. And, we did a lot of exercises in that. I'm not the kind of person that's going to leave go of a full time job and sit around and watch TV. I am too paranoid to fail. So, like, I need to go, 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 because otherwise I'm like, oh my God, I'm going out of business. I'm going out of business. So, um, with that being said, like, you still have to work through the emotional ties of that full time job. And for those of us that are out there that are paranoid and nervous and just need the safety, even if we're miserable, I'm here to say that the other side is awesome. Scary as heck. Scary as heck. I'm not even going to fluff you or anything like that. It has been a scary ride. But here's the thing, because we're scared to fail, we can possibly soar high, higher than I thought was possible. So, um, that's the other side of the token. Like, you're always thinking, what about if you fail? But you're never thinking, what about if you take off like a rocket? What about that? Um, so what has helped and what would help somebody on the other side of this camera who is still holding on to that watching paint dry job, I would say that the things that helped me along this journey were knowing. So I asked my coach, like, what would you do before you let go? What would you do? And he was like, I would have at least 10 grand in savings. That's what I would do. And I was like, oh, okay. Why 10 grand? And he explained that any opportunity at the flea market, at thrift shops, at buying a collection, like, you can do a lot of damage with $10,000 at a flea market, like serious damage. And once he said that, that was it. I was like, all right. So if he feels safe with 10,000 in the bank, I'm shooting for 20. I'm like, I'm gonna fight and get my money up to that part, and then I'll feel safe leaving go. Well, that's not true. I got the money in the bank and I was still scared. So um so I I live way under my means. So saving money is not that difficult. Also, it's not that difficult now. Let me put this into perspective, because I was a Dave Ramsey girl for a very, very long time. And it was extremely difficult when we had debt to put two nickels together. But we've been living the debt free life for quite some time. Um, I don't even like saying years because then I look at a calendar and I'm like way wrong with what I'm talking about. But um, it's been quite a few years, and stacking in the opposite direction of debt is absolutely a beautiful feeling. That's another thing. So if you not having the debt for me meant that I had the mental space and the mental clarity to have ideas flow through and not have the chain and balls that is debt tying me down to staying wherever I had to stay. Um, so saving account was my number one. And once I got that number, I just instantly felt like, yes, I can do this. But then I was still scared. Like, I was still like, I don't know. I don't know if I can do it. Um, but at the same time, I was just like, I was burning the candle on both sides. Like, I was working my full time job and I was doing this, trying to do this as a almost full time job. And my first full time effort, I think I might have cracked the 50 grand in sales year. Um, when I started, thinking about, oh, okay, maybe, I'm not sure. Um, so, and that was, having my full time job and doing this on a part time basis, but trying to give it a full time effort. So I was burning myself. Also, with my inflammatory issues, I was typing all day at work, and then I would come and sit down and like list and type for eBay and all that stuff. So that was a challenging time, but I'm just not one of those people that can leave go without a plan. And I needed to have a plan. And even when I had a plan, I was still nervous to let go. So if you're scared of letting go, I hear you, man. I I hear you. Um, I just want you to think, not believe, but I just want you to think as you're going to work today, what if it turns out really good? What if I soar higher than I've soared before? Because I will tell you that when you're going to the jobs that suck your soul, 1 minute feels like 8 hours. 1 hour feels like an eternity, and your vacation can never come fast enough. And on this side, I could I have the energy flow in my body, even though some days my inflammation is such that I just need to sit down and rest. The energy flow is so different when you're doing something that you really like and that you really love and that is for you. I can literally work 12, 13, 14 hours and it's like a breeze. It's like nothing. Yet when I was at the job, 2 minutes would pass and I'm like, are you sure it's not Friday yet? Like, it has to be Friday, I swear. And it doesn't, like time slows down. You just feel like you're stuck there, like you cannot move. And it's not like that over here, guys. It's not. Once you get into the business that you are passionate about, that you are, and let me clear this up. I was not passionate about dolls. I didn't know crap about dolls when I started this business. I didn't know anything about dolls. I did not follow my passion. None of that. Like none of that good stuff that they tell you. I just what I did was I followed the steps in front of me that were, I sold one thing and that worked, and then I sold another and then that worked, and then I sold the next thing, and I like fumbled my way through building the business. Like when I first started, it was clothing, and then I was selling skates, and then I was selling cross stitch kits. And like, and on and on. Like whatever I found at the thrift store or at the bins or at the flea market, like whatever I found that I thought was kind of cool or whatever and would sell, I would go buy more and more and more. Um, clothing did not work for me because of pulling and yanking stuff did not work with me doing my full-time job and trying to do reselling as a full-time business. Like my body could not sustain it at that time. I haven't tried, come to think of it, I haven't tried it again now that I don't have the full-time job. Um, Although I would like be betraying my girls if I try to do clothing. So I don't think my dolls would be happy about that. But um, save up money so that you are not desperate on your first year when you let go. Because I just believe that the desperation of not having money will make you think differently. You can't think when you're desperate for money. You just, it's a different animal. Um, so start there. Start a safety net and make sure that you have sufficient to leave you think your way through that first year of business. And, it might be as little as 10, or it might be as much as 20, or it may be whatever you need it to be to keep you, to give you the open space to think and not get nervous and run back. Because once you burn those boats, companies, they get like, they don't like that. They don't like you just leaving because you have a quote unquote dream that you're going to be chasing. So they're not going to be happy to get you back in right away or at all. So step one, build that safety, build that safety fund so that you have the time to think when you do let go. And things are going to happen no matter what. Like you're going to get a flat tire, your car's going to stop working, and all this good stuff. So, like, try to take care of all that stuff while you have the job and you're building the business on the side. Um, I would not be able to just burn the boats without having a safety fund to, I would be too paranoid. I would not be able to like think. Um, so that was extremely, extremely helpful. If nothing else, building that saving account before I let go has been the gold. That has been the golden key for me to be able to move forward. Because when the sales start to dip a little bit, I still have that safety fund there if I were to need it. But I'm like, no, I have to make it work. I have to make it work. So I do make it work, but I do have the safety fund if I absolutely need it. So, and also, I'm not like too proud to say if things go sideways, I will go get a job. Like I I do not like there's absolutely zero wrong with that. If I need to go back and get a job, I'll do that too. So it is what it is. I'm like, there's no shame in that for me. I know a lot of people leave go and they create their businesses and they're like, at least I don't have to do a full-time job. I don't care about that badge of honor. If I'm running a business and that business is not giving me the funds that I need to sustain my family and to move me forward, I will go get a job. I will, because I don't play that um, running a business broke type of ordeal. That's not my game. Um, if I have to get a job, I will. But in the meantime, I will make this rocket soar as high as I can take it for as long as I can make it work. Um, so my biggest thing to you is to talk to just a few people, to talk to a few people that can hold space for that idea to maybe become a reality. You don't want to share it with everybody because as at the very beginning, I felt very unstable with it and I wasn't a believer yet. And because I wasn't a believer yet, if two people would have been like, well, how about if this happens and if that would have been it. I would have been like, oh my God, you're right. How about if this happens or if that happens? I'm out of here. Um, so don't, like, you're already paranoid. I was already paranoid. I did not need any help with other people being paranoid. So, um, And we all know those people around us that are paranoid and that look at everything that's negative and that's going to not work. Stay away from those people. When you have an idea, not stay away from those people, but keep your idea away from those folks, because you're already unsteady. So you don't need somebody else who's unsteady. You need to find yourself a few people that believe, that will help you to believe. And then once you believe and you take off, then you could share it with everybody. Like this past year, I have shared my journey in my group, in my cohort. I've shared all my numbers. I've shared everything I'm doing and that kind of stuff, because now I'm steady. Now I believe. Um, but I wasn't like that before. And anybody that's in the group could tell you, I was always like very careful on sharing anything, because I wasn't steady enough to share. And I could not absorb any self doubt from anybody else, because I already had plenty myself. So um, just cultivate your idea in a safety zone, cultivate your plan in a safe zone, not only with people that are going to cheer you on, but with people that are going to kind of like open the scape to, in this business, these are the things that I have seen, I have experienced, and that kind of thing, so that you see the good and the bad. But if you talk to somebody that has overcome those doubts, those fears, and that kind of stuff, then you're able to move forward, even if you're scared. And that was me. That has always been me. I've always been like, you know, what about, how about if, I'm always looking for the hole that I'm going to fall down into. So just keep the idea safe, in a safe space, with only a few people that can handle your nerves, and hopefully keep you steady, and start building that savings, so that you have the mental space to be able to take off and not be so paranoid about money. In my home, we decided that my husband would stay at his job because we need the insurance. I live in the USA, and our insurance system, nothing good to say. But um, so my husband stays at his full time for our insurance, and he covers that. And um, he covers like the bills, the main bills of the house, and then I build all kind of sinking funds um, with my business funds. So the only thing that, so for the most part, like, and it's December 30th. So we're about to have our family financial year review type of ordeal. We all sit at the table, including my 15-year-old. We all will sit at the table. We're going to determine what are all the bills that we have on a monthly basis, how much is coming out of where, and what needs to go into vacation fund, what needs to go into Christmas funds, what needs to go into, like, we do our budgeting as a family. And my daughter will sit down on the floor with her notebook, and she will make all the determinations as to what money do we need, and then what does dad's paycheck go to, what does mom's paycheck go to, and what's going to go into savings, what's going to go into investments, and all that stuff. So we will sit down, all three of us will sit down and do that, and figure out where is our money going for 2026. We build our vacation fund like starting right away. So, and whatever's in the vacation fund, that is the vacation that we afford. There is no going above that fund. Um, and the same thing goes for mostly anything. Like for my car, I started making payments on my car last year, like, yeah, a whole year. So that by the time, like, my Subaru is still running, but I did get another one because I thought it's going to leave me on the side of the road here soon. But my Subaru has 190,000 miles on it right now. The one that I had been using for my business. And it just recently I bought a car because I started having issues. And That car has been the best car ever, I swear. Uh, it's only needed like oil changes and tires and whatever. So only this past year did I put some money into it. But anyways, because I knew my Subaru was getting up there in miles, it was becoming an elderly Subaru. Um, but I've always said I'm going to pay this car and I'm going to test that whole Subaru statement that they say, most Subarus are still on the road after 10 years. Well, that thing's still kicking. And it's like, I bought a new one because I thought it was going to die and it's still kicking. It's like that. That thing is still kicking. So I think it's at about almost inching up to almost 200,000 miles now. So that one's still running. And what we did was we started a car fund last year, um, knowing that, maybe somewhere along the year I would need a car, because I'm driving from state to state to go pick up my dolls. And I got my new car and I was able to put $8,000 down right away because that's how much I had saved waiting for my old Subaru to like die. But it allowed me the time to save that much money. So now we are doing the same thing for my husband because his car is up there in miles and, it's asking for help and relief. So we have now started his car payments, um, and we're building that up so that he took over my old Subaru, so that when my old car finally decides I'm done with you guys, then we will have a nice chunky down payment for that as well. So we like sinking funds. We like the whole Dave Ramsey plan for later. Like, your car's about to die. So like start saving money. So that's what we do here. And we do that with vacation funds as well. And um, now with the grandbaby coming, we need a heftier vacation fund. Maybe because we'll be flying or maybe because we'll be driving and staying down there for a little bit longer and that kind of thing. So anyways, I think I went off topic, but life happens in many different directions, and so does this channel, I guess. It is the golden hour. Enjoy your quiet time at home. Enjoy the last of 2025, which is today. Enjoy the possibility of being able to leave your full time job. And when you think about what can go wrong, please go to the other side of your T chart and like put one side is what could go wrong and make sure that you also justify what could go right. And just believe. Sometimes we just have to believe in ourselves. Have a good day.